Hi guys, and welcome to finishing every single book I'm in the middle of reading right now, because me as a reader, if I've got one drawback, it's specifically starting way too many books and not finishing a single one of them, even if I'm this close to the finish line. So today, we're going to finish off all 7 books that I'm in the middle of reading, so let's just directly get into what's probably going to be a really fun video. Now for context, I have quite the commute in the mornings and then on my way back in the afternoons from college, which is why I have been starting a bunch of audiobooks throughout the week to kind of listen to on my commute, but I haven't actually gone ahead and finished any of them. And in the midst of all of that, I also started a couple of Kindle books that I like to get to. So now, at least for tonight's reading, because I still have some time before I'm probably going to go to bed, I think I'll just pick up one of the audiobooks I still have left and get, some of my room, the mess cleaned up, and maybe a little bit of reading journal, because I'm doing that at the moment, which is why see you guys hopefully tomorrow once I have more updates or whatever. But yeah, I don't know which book I want to pick up reading right now. I just know I'm in the middle of 7. It's a little overwhelming. I'd like to get a couple done at least to free up some headspace, which is why I'll go pick something out. It's not like I'm not enjoying the books, it's just I don't really have the motivation to continue. I think I'm in a reading slump, which is why we're here in this video kind of trying to get me out of it together, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go pick up my first book, probably an audiobook, kind of listen to it, and like I said, finish chores off. And yeah, see you guys tomorrow once it's done, because I'm definitely not coming in tonight. It's kind of getting late. Bye. Hi guys. So now fast forward to the next evening. I did go ahead and finish our first audiobook out, because yesterday while I did continue listening to it or whatever, it got a little late in the night. I was a little tired, so ended up finishing it out on my commute this afternoon or whatever. And now I have thoughts to give you and a summary also to provide about the book Caught Up, which is I think the newest one in the Into the Darkness, something like that series, the stalker mafia romances or whatever online. Now I picked the first one up because it was getting a lot of hype online, and I don't really know if I would say I like that, but then this one specifically also has been getting a lot of hype, because from what I can tell, the first book in the series, Lights Out, was like a, I guess, mask romance, and then this one is more biker talk. And so if you've been on that side of the internet, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because this book follows this guy called Junior. You've met him in like the previous book or whatever. He's, I believe, the cousin of the girl in it, and he kind of is like this biker guy, I guess. And since day one, he's been obsessed with this one girl he used to be with in high school, but then something went wrong back then, which is why he had to move on, leave her or whatever. And now years later, he's suddenly looking up her social media, because he has this like weird interest that kind of gets sparked or whatever, and suddenly he realizes she's not the shy, bookish girl he used to see back in the day anymore. She's completely changed. Her social media has completely developed into something else, and suddenly that intrigue or whatever, the curiosity, is turning into obsession, and suddenly he wants to be near her. And then now on the other hand, we have Lauren, the girl I was just speaking about, and she she's moved on with her life from what happened back in high school with Junior. She doesn't really consider it, except one day there's this mystery man who kind of walks into her life. She's having these flirty text conversations through her social media, and then on the outside someone's like following her around, stalking outside her house. There's this biker guy or whatever, and she's falling for him, but she doesn't know who he is, and she gets that it's like a whole red flag situation. But like, listen, it's a dark romance, you need plot in some sense, and this is what it was. I will say personally, for my thoughts, this book definitely felt more woke in comparison to the previous book, because there were a bunch of references made here and there that weren't really made necessarily in the previous book. But from what I can tell from Goodreads reviews, while people aren't necessarily enjoying that, listen, I got on board with it. I actually had a really good time. It made for some great moments, and listen, I had a fun time. I don't really want to say this is better than Lights Out. I feel like it's the same for me, because I personally read more like cute, fluffy romances. I'm just swapping things up sometimes when I get intrigued by books like this, and playing into the hype or whatever, which is why I'm gonna say I feel the same way I feel about Lights Out with this promised biker talk or whatever. We got only a few scenes with him on his bike or whatever. It was just mentioned here and there in context when they were getting to places, so I feel like I didn't really give in to that. And then again, the random mafia plots that are thrown in these books, I think I might still continue the series whenever there's the next one out or whatever, because it's a good palate cleanser. It's like a good mindless read, and the chemistry was great between the two characters, but I feel like the whole playing into the stereotypes or whatever, giving you certain tropes and then not delivering on that, was kind of disheartening. And then again, the random mafia in there, listen, I'm never gonna get on board with that, because it's so funny. It comes out of nowhere, and It's hilarious to me. I will say though, it definitely doesn't deserve all the hate it's getting online, because I had actually a really good time listening to it, and it was fine in its sense or whatever. It's not the best book I've read because it's definitely out of my comfort range or whatever, but I feel like it was alright to read anyway, and I'm going to give it the same rating I gave Lights Out, 3 stars, because I feel like it was just like a mid book for me. No like hard strong feelings about it, which is why here we are, happy to have read it. We'll definitely read the next one in the series, because now I'm really intrigued, because something absolutely crazy, didn't see it coming, happens in the 80% mark or something. I feel like nothing was going on, and then there's this random plot twist thrown out of nowhere, and I was just like, wait. So now I'm really interested in this one specific character's story. I don't know if we're getting it next or not, but I will go look into it, and if we do, you best believe I'm hopping on that the day the book gets released, because listen, hey, that is honestly wild. So if you want to read it, it's a fun series to definitely go pick up, but then also definitely read it if it's only in your comfort range and only for that, because it does come with a bunch of trigger warnings, and that can definitely deter people off. But yeah, that's me having read, caught up, and finally finished it after having listened to it for like quite some time now, because the problem with me is I start too many books, I don't get around to finishing it. Don't really know why I stopped on it. I feel like it just dragged out towards the end, and it wasn't like the previous book in the series where the last 20% felt pointless. It was just I didn't really connect that well with the character, so I was bored towards the end, and I feel like it could have been wrapped up or whatever. But I'm happy I read it regardless, and now that we're done with this, I'm gonna go move on to the next book. Today is a Wednesday, tomorrow is Thursday, and then day after is Friday. Don't know why I'm telling you the calendar, but for some reason every professor in college today decided that it was a good day for every subject to have some sort of homework. So for the past few days or whatever, I haven't really been getting much, but then today of all days, every single person decided, listen, let's just give them assignments. So now I have a bunch of assignments to go complete, and it sucks because I just got back from my night driving class, which means now I have to stay up late even though I'm tired. And so even though submissions are like tomorrow, day after, I need to really buck up, which is why even though I wanted to read on my Kindle, originally planned to curl up, I don't think we can tonight, which is why back to my trusty old audiobooks again, because there's quite a few I started that I didn't get around to finishing. And so I'll see what I'm listening to. I wanted a reading journal so bad, but because I haven't had the time, we'll go finish my assignments first, and then in the night, if there is still time, I will journal with you. But for now, it's assignments locking in time, so I'm gonna go do that, and I'll catch up with you guys hopefully next when I have finished another audiobook, because I'm nearly done with quite a few books. It's just I haven't gotten around to finishing them for whatever reason, which is why I'm gonna go pick something up, continue with my homework, and see you guys hopefully in a little bit. Don't know when that will be, with my next book complete. Bye. Okay guys, so it's the same night, it's only a little bit later. I have gone ahead and finished one of the next books, or I guess one of the books I was already reading, the audiobooks out, because I was working. And the thing is, I'm so tired right now. I would literally kill to sleep, but it's not even close to my bedtime to begin with, and I feel like this happens every time I have some sort of responsibility, like I just want to go crash out for the night. Otherwise, if I have to like stay up or whatever, if I'm reading on my Kindle or doing something that's otherwise meaningless, like I can stop and probably go to bed early, I just don't feel like sleeping. So now that I actually have some work in my hands, I'm a little too tired, which is why we still need the audiobooks to keep pushing through tonight, because I don't know how else I'm going to get all of this done otherwise, and there's quite a bit. But I have gone ahead, finished out the next book, and I've kind of come here to kind of give you like a summary and speak about it, because then after that I have to jump right in, maybe take a little break, and then just continue all of this, because otherwise there's no way in hell I'm finishing before all my deadlines tomorrow and day after, and I'm a little tensed up about that. But now for the book, I have gone ahead and finished listening to, I think it's called How to Fake It in Hollywood or whatever. And so summary time, it follows these two actors, Gray and Ethan, who are kind of trying to fake a relationship as a PR stunt to become relevant again, because Gray, she kind of just finished recording, or it's been like a year or so since she just finished recording for this teen opera show, kind of like a sitcom. I'm making no sense right now, but those things that would air on Disney Channel and everyone would watch them, something along those lines, except it was like this Love Island version, I guess. I don't really know if I'm making sense. It was called Poison Paradise, and she just finished like recording for it like a year ago. Ever since then, she hasn't really been getting movie deals, so she's going kind of irrelevant, even though she's very good at her craft. So now there's this one on the horizon that she's competing for with other actors, and she's hoping she can land that role, because if she does, it's kind of like a turning point in her career, except now she wants to become relevant in media, so that it's given to her because she's relevant, which is why she decides to enter into that fake relationship. Ethan, on the other hand, he's like this A-list actor, except he's become quite the recluse in the past few years or whatever. He's got struggles with drinking, alcohol issues. He had this like divorce with his wife or whatever. His creative partner, he kind of passed away in a car accident, and so there's a lot going on in his life. He's being weighed down by his his alcoholism and grief issues, and thanks to all of that he kind of went almost irrelevant in the sense that he faded into the background, and now there's only like a year left or whatever on the screenplay that he and his creative partner were, I guess, producing or whatever, something like that, before the copyright goes away. I'm not sure if I make sense. And so the thing is, he wants to shape up and clean up his act now so he can actually go ahead and produce that in memory of his friend, which is why now he actually needs to come back into media so that people start taking him seriously enough to kind of give him the role, give him the chance to continue working on that specific script and get it done, because he has quite the strict timeline, deadline, whatever on it. And so both of their agents kind of decide that, listen, let's just hook these two up in this like PR stunt wherein they're faking a relationship, maybe getting some good like juicy headlines in so that they both start to come into media again, become relevant again, and then both of them get whatever they want creatively, career wise. Except as all of this starts to happen, they're falling for each other, except they're unsure about it because they're both actors at the end of the day, can't really trust each other if they're faking it or they're actually really falling for each other. And that's how it goes. I will say personally for me, this probably has to be one of the most dull books I've read this year. I'm so sorry, because I looked it up on Goodreads. From what I can tell, this is like a 5-star book for like maybe 99% of the crowd, which means I'm probably in the out group here or whatever. I don't even know why, but I feel like it was written in this weird like third-person POV for both like characters or whatever, which is why I didn't connect to either of them. And their whole chemistry, like from the very beginning, they just like love each other at first sight or whatever. And then not just that, it's so dry. Like there's no tension between the two of them. I feel like they could have been cardboard characters and I would have seen them as cardboard pieces of paper rather than actual characters, because here truly nothing worked between the two of them. It was a bit like an age gap situation where the book is kind of trying to show you that love doesn't cure all, you need to actually fix yourself, work on it or whatever. But I feel like towards the very end, even the whole alcohol issues of his or whatever, they are suddenly just fixed. There was like a 16-month jump or whatever, and then suddenly he's come back into the picture. And I'll just say, it wasn't for me the way it was carried out. I feel like more of his struggles were shown, but him dealing with it wasn't, and that did really show him as a 3-dimensional character to me. Even at the very end, when he comes in and he asks her if they can talk, she asks him if he's ready to go out like for a drink with her, and like you just know the guy got out of like rehab and you're asking him a stupid question like, are you, that's all I'm gonna say. That is so dumb, but here we are. So I feel like thanks to all of that and the age gap thing as well, the thing I forgot to mention on the tangent that I got off like a second ago, the thing between the two of them is that they're so oddly suited for each other. Like they just don't make sense together. And again, like I said, maybe it's being forced together. He's just like falling for someone who's younger than him because she's like gorgeous and he's having a midlife crisis and she's just there for whatever. So I don't know, it wasn't really the book for me. I hated every second. It was just so boring and long and monotonous, and like I didn't enjoy any of it. I feel like there was only this one moment wherein their like agent or whatever, she had like a British accent in the audiobook. That was the only thing I literally enjoyed. So here we are. That says volumes for this book, but that's where we are going right now. This is very unfortunate because I went in with such high expectations, and that's my fault because personally I felt like this could be like The Bodyguard by Catherine Center, because there's like an actor faking a relationship in that, or it could be like Nora Goes Off Script wherein the guy is also an actor, and those are such like top reads for me, easily in 6 stars category. But then this, it just fell short. So that's proof that actors and romances cannot fix everything, because this was truly bad. And I feel like it was good, the portrayal of his addiction, but I feel like again him overcoming it wasn't really shown, and them as a couple, they were just thrown in together from the very first page, and maybe that could have been dealt with better. So it wasn't the book for me. I'm gonna say like 2 stars. I'm so sorry. Would probably give it 1, but also I never give books 1 star because they definitely do take time and work to write, which is why here we are with the 2-star rating. Again, I'm so sorry. Nothing for this really worked in my favor, and a lot of things just didn't make sense for me, which is why here we are, hopefully trying not to fall into a reading slump. I'm gonna have to be much smarter with the next book I end up picking up to listen to as I continue with my work. So we'll see how that goes. But so far this video is off to a terrible start, because while the previous book was alright, this is just really bad, and I'm hoping we don't go further rock bottom in the dumps now from this, because truly that would be terrible and I don't want to get into a slump. So here we are. I'm gonna go get back to it maybe after a little break, and I'll catch up with you guys. I don't know if again tonight or maybe tomorrow, but we'll see. When I finish the next book, I'll be back in, and yeah, let's pray that my reads get better, because right now nothing is looking up in my favor. Also, jumping in like literally 1 second after I shut the camera off again to say their dynamic felt really forced, and I forgot to mention that, which is why here we are again, and now I'm actually gonna go. Bye. Alright, so it's been a couple days since my last update to you guys. I've been really busy again because of like college assignments, because they're truly going crazy and there's so much work. I'm not being able to get through all of it. But in the midst of all of that, I have gone ahead and finished listening out to the audiobook of Vicious. So I'm here to come kind of speak about it or whatever before we move on to the next book, because I don't want to spend so long on this one specifically. Basically, it follows this girl, Emilia LeBlanc. Her parents kind of end up moving into work in this like rich mansion place or whatever for this really rich family or whatever, except the father of the family and the stepmother, they're always out of the house, always on some sort of vacation or whatever. They're very negligent parents, which is why only their son is usually at home, and he's always throwing all these crazy parties or whatever, and he's about the girl's age. So she decides maybe I'll be friends with him or whatever, except for some reason since day one he treats her like absolute shit and you just don't know why. And so something happens in their past, and in the midst of all of this timeline, he ends up asking her to leave, and then if she doesn't, he's gonna threaten the rest of her family or whatever. So 10 years ago, he basically ensures that she doesn't get to live with her parents in the house to kind of work for them. She's actually kicked out of there by him on the basis of his threats or whatever, and then she has to leave her hometown, whatever she's known life the way it is, her family, just because this one guy is insecure and just isn't okay with it. And then now 10 years later, she's, I believe, in New York or something like that, working like a waitressing job or whatever, and suddenly guess who shows up at her doorstep, or at least in her restaurant? It's Vicious, the same guy who kicked her out when they were kids or whatever at 17, and suddenly he wants her back in his life or whatever, because there's a like lawsuit that's gonna happen and he needs like her to testify in it, but also he just wants to like toy with her or something. So all this crazy shit is going on, but basically he is the biggest asshole of all time, and he just wants her back in his life so he can use her again and kind of have his fun manipulating her, except she's always had feelings for him despite him being the worst bully of all time, and so she goes along with it. She has no backbone per usual, and that's where the story goes essentially. And for me personally, you cannot violate human rights in a book. If you do that, the book is genuinely trash to me. This book, I'm just gonna say it outright, it set female rights back at least 1 century ago, if not more, because the way women are treated in this book, the way they're spoken about, like people actually read this stuff and enjoy it, and good for you if you do, not shaming anyone. But for me specifically, reading some of these things, they just didn't sit right with me, because this guy keeps calling her help, and that's his endearing nickname for her. So how in other romances there's maybe like darling or sweetheart, no, this one's literally just help, and it's said in such like an offensive way that, listen, I can't get on board with that. And then there's all these other things happening wherein he's done such horrible shit in the past, at some point in the past like 10 years perspective or whatever, because we keep switching back and forth between present and past timeline. In the past, she used to be one of his best friends' girlfriends, and they broke up or whatever thanks to him, but he was so insecure dealing with it or whatever that there's other things happening now, and suddenly he just comes across as like so honestly asshole-ish. I'm so sorry, I can't think of a better word, which is why, listen, hey, if you're so jealous, you should have acted on it in the first place rather than treating her like shit. The first person who treats her well, that comes along and is nice, and suddenly you're jumping on your insecure high horse. I feel like he did so many horrible things to her all throughout growing up or whatever, and that's just excused because he's like good looking and he's got money or whatever, and like that's just not the way it works. Because if someone degrades you, you don't go running back to them and fall in love with them like this girl did. For some reason, she's always had some sort of like addiction to him. Even when, he walks back into her life, instead of being somewhat opposed to it, she's just going with the flow of things or whatever, putting up hardly any fight or protest because she still secretly loves him in her heart or whatever. And he's always like, you've always been mine regardless. Like, come on, bro. That's literally so disgusting. I hate it every second. And so this was just not the book for me. Also, I feel like he acts like so weird in the age rating sense or whatever, because like in the past timeline, I believe he's 17, but he's like smoking 6-packs and like acting like this like thug guy who's like in his 50s, controlling everyone or whatever, just acting like high school is the time he peaked or whatever. He's got his whole friend group or whatever, and I'm not even gonna touch that subject with like a 10-feet pole, because all of them are so messed up at 17, acting like they own the world or whatever. And then now when he's like older in the present timeline, like it's gotten even worse the way he behaves, and I feel like he's just so out of touch touch with reality, in the sense that his head is messed up somewhere, and when I figure out what's wrong with him, I will get back to you on it. But so far, I hated every second of this book. Truly, I just cannot express what felt wrong, but there's so many things that did. Because even the previous book I've read by this author, the same one, I think it was called The Devil Wears Black or something like that. Like, the story is good, the chemistry is somewhat alright, but the main male character, there's always something wrong with him. I just don't get the way they behave or whatever in this like oddly toxic, I don't know how to explain it, manner. And just the way it was portrayed, I hated every second. So maybe this author isn't for me, and here we are. Maybe I should just stop trying. But also, to be fair, I actually picked this book up because it starts with the letter V, and for my reading journal like alphabet challenge, I was missing the letter V, so I read it basically just to fill my spread out, which is why, you know, I'm happy I wouldn't have picked it up anyway. And so that's good proof that I probably will never read an LJ Shen book again, because this was truly terrible. I'm so sorry, I hated every second. But yeah, if you're into like toxic romances, maybe this could be your thing. Because me, personally, I like reading only fluffy stuff, and so maybe this was definitely out of my comfort range, and this is why I'm thinking this way about it. But I'm gonna give this like 2 stars, because I feel like there's a lot about it that just didn't sit right with me, and I feel like he didn't grovel enough, and he was just forgiven too easily for the kind of shit he pulled in the past, because it was really bad, and he just didn't do anything, and suddenly she's forgiven him, you know, loving him again or whatever, and like, it's messed up. Not my cup of tea. Alright, so now I'm gonna go on my commute on the way back today. I actually managed to finish listening to this, and then I still had quite the commute left, and I wasn't really in the mood to pick something up to listen to again, because I was just so sick of listening in the moment that I figured I'd read something on the Kindle app or whatever. I pulled it up, didn't find any option that I, you know, was interested in the moment or something. So I figured I'd go back to my NetGalley app, because I was actually sent this arc I was reading for like a little bit or whatever, and I figured I'd read some of that. It's like a comic situation, and I don't have a lot left because I finished quite a bit of it. I think I was only like halfway through at the point when I started, but now if I sit down for like maybe 10 or 15 odd minutes, I should be done, which is why I'm gonna go finish it out, and I'll come update you guys once I have thoughts on that to kind of give you and speak about it as well. But I'm hoping that's gonna go a lot better than this did, because this was just not my time. So I'm gonna go keep reading now, and I'll update you guys very soon, because now locking in to actually get through all the rest of the books I have remaining, because there's so many, it's kind of getting overwhelming. It's been not even 10 minutes later, same camera angle, I'm done with the book. So here I am to kind of come speak about the Heartbreak Hotel, which was sent to me as an arc because I kind of overestimated how much I had left, and here I am. I'm done with it. Thank you so much, Mad Cave Studios, for, you know, sending in my way, because I'm so happy that I read this. But also, now I'm not really sure if this pulled me out of my reading slump or it's put me back into one, because it was that good. And so, thoughts time. Essentially, for a summary, this book follows these 4 different teenagers, all of them in various stages of heartbreak. So it's not necessarily romantic heartbreak, just things happening in their life or whatever that make them realize that they just don't want to be in their specific lives anymore. Have you ever had the thought wherein something goes wrong and suddenly you're just like, I wish I wasn't living my life, I wish I was in someone else's or whatever, I just wish I wasn't in this specific place at this specific time because I have to deal with this sort of grief. So it doesn't really mean it's like romantic heartbreak, it's just some sort of grief and heartbreak over something else that has happened in their lives that kind of wish for them to not want to be in there in that moment. And you know, all of them end up waking up this one morning in this like non-place kind of, so they're transported to the Heartbreak Hotel, wherein now they've been given some time and space to kind of heal and kind of move on and process their emotions and, you know, reevaluate before they rejoin reality again. And so it's kind of like this place wherein it's not really a place, they're just there in this, I guess, like magical hotel or whatever, and time can continue again when they choose to enter reality again, except now they have to kind of figure out how they go about it, because all of them, their stages or whatever are really bad and they just don't know how to move forward. And so you kind of watch them on their healing journey, except all of them kind of enter in separately, and then towards the end of it they're all healing together, kind of emotionally combining themselves and moving on from that place together. And so it's really beautiful the way it was portrayed, the emotions or whatever in this. If you're struggling through some sort of, I guess, emotional processing, if you're struggling through grief at the moment, this is definitely something you can check out if you want to, because I feel like the way it was talked about in this specifically, like there's a lot I relate to, and there's a lot that I'm wondering how the author knows, because there are some of my exact thoughts that I, you know, just put on the book. And I'm gonna say it, this book had me crying yesterday, especially when I was reading it, because I've been reading this in the midst of everything. Whenever I've had the time, I was pulling out my phone reading it. I was literally holding back tears because I wish I was joking. Even on the commute, actually, I didn't want to cry because obviously there's people around me, but like the way things are handled in this book, I don't know how the author did it. It's so beautiful. Even the drawings in this, they're so well done and crafted, but the story I feel like is the most beautiful part, because there's so much you don't expect and then it just hits you like a gut punch and you're wondering how it's going to move forward. And the way it does is a little heartbreaking for the reader personally as well, but I think it was like the most tragically beautiful thing I've ever read. And listen, I'm happy I read it. I'll put my review on screen for you in case you'd like to go ahead and check it out yourselves as well, because this honestly to me was so beautiful. There's one teenager who has lost the love of her life, and then there's another one who feels betrayed, and then there's like a third one who just doesn't want to grow up and move on. And so there's a lot going on in this. I feel like this definitely can, attract majority of audiences, because there's definitely something for someone everywhere in it. You can relate to quite a bit of it if you check it out. And it was a good read for me personally. I'm happy I read it, but at the same time now I feel a little emotionally withdrawn, and I'm going to continue reading tonight. Obviously I don't really know what I'm picking up next from the currently reading list. I definitely will. It's just I'm feeling a little weird in the emotional sense right now, because like I'm happy I read it, but at the same time it kind of feels like my heart is hurting and I didn't even feel that connected to the character. So it's really just a character driven story that I guess sneaks up on you when you least expect it, and then it hits you in the heart like it hit me. And maybe if I reread this one day, it's definitely going to be 5 stars, because the way this hurt, I'm sorry, I've never cried to a graphic novel before, but now I can add that to my list of records because this made me do it and it was incredibly so I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. Happy I read it. Definitely check it out if you want to. I believe it comes out in the month of September, so you've got a little bit to add it to your TBR until then. And yeah, this is for this. I'm going to go check out the next book on my currently reading and maybe update you guys. I don't know if I get done tonight or whatever, but whenever I do, I'll update, because so far I don't really know. I don't have any inclination to keep reading after reading this. I just want some time to evaluate, and so we'll see how this goes, but I will come in soon. Bye. I forgot to mention, so I'm jumping in really quick because I literally thought of this the first time I was reading it, but I just didn't say it for some reason. This book has quite a bit of emphasis on the fact that now you have to be mourning before you want to go ahead and process what you've gone through and heal. So I feel like the whole Heartbreak hotel concept, it comes from memory and sorrow, and then these characters, they're spending all their time there, except the time that they're spending over there, as you go along with them, watch them, it's actually their mourning process. And then as soon as you watch that kind of go to a close or whatever, then you watch them start to heal. So it's not necessarily like healing in the first place. First you actually watch them process their grief and go along with it, and then after that it's the healing. So definitely again consider picking it up if you want to. It does, like I said, not only speak about romantic heartbreak, but also there's platonic heartbreak and there's sorrow and regret and other things, and I feel like it could appeal to a wider range of audience. It's just specifically about the mourning stage. So if you want to read something like that, it's definitely something you can pick up. It is a heavier read on the emotional side, so again consider that, but also I do believe it's YA in case anyone is interested in that kind of thing. And yeah, pick it up for the art style, pick it up for the storyline, pick it up if you want to, but that's how I feel, and that's just something I wanted to mention before I go to continue reading again, because I don't know how I'm going to continue otherwise and single-mindedly focus on something else when I truly feel heartbroken by reading this book. Okay guys, it's been a few hours. I don't know if I really said it, but I've been given this one assignment as part of homework, which requires me to be doing some realism, which means it's probably going to take me at least 17 hours to finish, and I've only finished like a couple hours worth of work on it. Only finished the hair of the face I'm supposed to be drawing, which is why here we are. It's still going to take a little bit, which is why all the books I have right now, at least the ones that I have saved as audiobooks left, I'm basically just going to be listening as much as I can and getting that done, which is why that's happening on the side. And so I took a little break after our previous book because I felt so emotionally withdrawn. It hit a little too close to home that I needed some time off. But now that I've taken that, there's this book I've been listening to on and off, but then putting it down every time I got frustrated, that I've decided I'm finally just gonna pick back up and finish it once and for all, which is called Don't Let Her Stay, something like that I believe. And it's one of the books that I was in the middle of reading that I just haven't gotten to finishing, which is why I continue listening to this now as I was working on my portrait. Still haven't finished that. It's probably gonna take years at this point to finish, but I did go ahead and finish listening to the book because like I said, I am listening on like 4x speed and there wasn't a lot left to begin with. So now I guess it's like summary and then thoughts time for that, and then I'm probably going to bed because I'm really tired. But basically this book follows this one woman called Joanne. She thinks she has like the perfect life, like literally ever, because she's got this like loving, caring, doting husband. She's got the most beautiful, perfect little baby girl, and she's just happy with everything that's going on. She has a nice house to live in. She has good money in savings with her husband, nothing really to worry about, and so she's happy living her life. Except out of nowhere one day her husband, husband, Richard, his 20-year-old daughter, Chloe, gets in touch with them and she's just like, listen, hey, I want to visit you guys, kind of make amends, because the last couple of years ago when Richard ended up marrying Joanne, the main woman in the book, Chloe kind of had a falling out with her father, something against the marriage or whatever, because keep in mind they had like an age gap difference which she wasn't really standing for. But now that the baby girl has been born, Chloe kind of wants to come back into their life, kind of fix the bridges and kind of look after the kid. So they decide, hey, it's a good idea, bring the family back together. Chloe moves into the house, except there's something wrong with this girl, because every time Joanne sees her with her baby daughter Evie, there's something seriously wrong with her. And she's doing all these things, she's lying about stuff and then going back and saying she didn't lie, and like manipulating and gaslighting Joanne into thinking she's going crazy. But at the same time, Joanne genuinely believes that her baby is in pure danger and harm from Chloe, and suddenly she's starting to wonder if she can ask her to leave, send her back, or is it too late. So basically that's the whole point, do not let her stay, because she's literally a psycho. Except as it starts going along, you're wondering who the psycho actually is. And so it's a really interesting book. I feel like the premise, it really got me. It really feels like something Frida McFadden would write, and so I picked it up. It's not very long, I believe, and so it was a quick read to get through with. But I will say there's a lot of going back and forth, in the sense that something's being said, then it's being taken back, then it's being said again and taken back. This reminds me kind of the format of the book Survive the Night by Riley Sager, which I read like a month ago, which had the same thing, and it really got me frustrated, because something is being said, then instantly backtracking, and like truly the whole manipulating the main character is not something I'm standing for, because I actually find that really annoying, because it kind of distorts the sequence of events. But also I feel like this book did it alright, in the sense that I was somewhat hooked. It was kind of like a bad movie you watch just because you have nothing else to watch, which is why I was somewhat hooked. But at the same time, it's not the best thing I've ever read. Like, I've read other things that have had me definitely more engaged than I was with this one specifically, but it wasn't really a bad book if you want to pick up something quick. I will say though, the ending, I'm so confused now, because I get it, it does make sense, but at the same time now I'm wondering what I just read, and I'm wondering if I actually like it or if I hate it. Because what happened, I mean, I don't know how to justify it exactly, but it feels a little dumb, not gonna lie, but also it feels a little like crazy smart. So I don't know where I am with my thoughts on this book. I don't know how to feel at the moment, which is why I'm just gonna give it middle rating, 3 stars, and we'll move on, because right now I'm a little confused, mainly just withdrawn from the previous book, which is why I'm not really able to come with like cohesive thoughts on this one specifically. Like, it's good, but also at the same time, did I really enjoy it, or was I just going along with the vibes of it? So if you want to read it, you definitely can. Plot structure is all over the place, but listen, hey, if you ever need like a quick mystery thriller that can just speed you by in like a day, this is your book. But that's how I think about it. 3 stars, not a bad rating, and maybe I'll go look back on it someday and have more thoughts to give you. But so far it's nearly 2:30 in the morning. I'm dying, which is why I'm just gonna go to sleep now. Maybe I'll go catch up on the Kindle book right now, because I love reading on Kindle before I go to bed, get myself a little tired, which is why I'm gonna go do that. Once I actually start dozing, my eyes are literally shutting, I'm getting so sleepy that I'm dropping this thing on my face, then I'll go to sleep and I'll come update in the morning if I get done with the Kindle book. But regardless, that's my thoughts on this book so far. I really don't know where this video is going, because it was going good, but then it's going bad, and now it's going mid. And listen, I'm a little confused, so I'm just gonna go take a break, because that's literally what I need right now, and I'll catch up with you guys hopefully tomorrow. Bye. This entire video has been a culmination of me remembering that I forgot to say one very specific thing right after the camera gets shut off. So I come back and set it all up again and realize I'm just gonna record like a 1-minute clip before I go back again, so it sounds a little stupid, but here I am again to come speak about Don't Let Her Stay, or whatever that book is called, because there's one last thing I wanted to mention, literally forgot. So here I am again. This entire book felt like the author was kind of making up the plot as they went along with it. So drafted one chapter, as soon as that chapter is done, thinking of what happens next, drafting that, and then even plot twists, the author put it in as they were thinking of them or as they came up with it. So it was kind of like a write as you go process, rather than a think of the plot twist in advance and make the story go around with that. Because I feel like even the very end, like something comes up and you're just like, okay, that's nice, but then the thing that comes after that, you're just like, okay, and then the thing that comes after that, you're just like, wait, does this even make sense? Does it even add up? Because I feel like if you look back on the whole sequence of events, there's a lot of unexplained plot holes here and there, and I definitely think that could have been avoided if it wasn't written in this way. It definitely feels like it was written as the author went along with it. but it did work for the story in that favor. I'm not trying to be mean, it's just something I feel. So here we are, my thoughts and opinions only, do not come after me, and read it if you want to, because it is a really good book if you want something creepy, if you're like alone at home and just want a thriller to keep you on your toes, because it's definitely got that edge to it, and it definitely feels like something Frida McFadden could have written. Hi guys, and welcome to update time. So it's now literally the next night. This is how long it took me to finish the next book. I feel like the last couple of books in the video, this one and the next one I'll be reading, they're gonna take me the longest essentially, because they are the ones I have the least amount of progress made on, because this one was a Kindle book, and these days, thanks to college and me devoting my time into assignments and stuff, as soon as I get back and the commute and everything else, I'm listening to more audiobooks, and I don't really have the time to be reading on Kindle. And maybe I dedicated too much effort this week into reading The Heartbreak Hotel, which that didn't really take long, but because that was the only thing I was focused on reading on my phone, I wasn't reading on the Kindle app necessarily. I didn't really get through with the Kindle book because I was more interested in that. But then now I finally sat down, locked in, finished my Kindle book. The next book, it's gonna take me longer to even read now, because I have zero progress literally on it. I think I'm like only 20% through, and I already know I hate it so much, which is why it's just not holding my attention or whatever, which is why that's headed for last or whatever. But for now, I sat down, spent the entire day today because I had literally nothing else, just locking in, reading my book, and I'm so happy I did, because I truly haven't had a reading day like this in so long now. It's been like a couple odd weeks, and finally catching up now with my Kindle. Listen, I remember my obsession again, because I truly had the best time kind of reading and finishing out Till Summer Do Us Part, which is the new Meghan Quinn book. So essentially this book follows this girl, her name is Scotty. She joins this new job or whatever, except when she joins that place, she realizes she's literally the only woman there. So her boss and they're the only two women there, and she's just like, wait, what? So basically everyone who works there is a man, and she goes in expecting this like bachelor pad kind of situation or whatever, except she's like thoroughly surprised when she finds out that every single person, including her boss, is all like happily married or whatever, and they all just like brag about it. So the only conversation that takes place in the office is about their spouses and how everyone's just obsessed with their partner, and she's just like, wait, she's the only one who's a woman and who's not married, and now she's wondering what the heck she's gonna go do, because her boss is like hardly ever there, and so now she's in this like environment with all these men who are gushing about their partners, and she's just alone, and she doesn't know what to make of it. So one day her boss ends up coming out of the blue or whatever for this random meeting, and Scotty decides to kind of impress her boss. She's gonna pretend talking about like her fake husband or whatever, non-existent man, just to get her boss's approval, except one of her co-workers, eagle-eyed Chad, ends up spotting that, listen, you're not wearing your wedding ring, what's on about that, you're literally lying. So she concocts this whole ass story, which is completely a lie, that she and her husband are having like marriage issues right now, lots of trouble going on in paradise, which is why maybe it might break up, maybe she doesn't really know what's going on with it, which is why she's choosing to not wear her ring. Except, let's be so for real, she doesn't even have a husband to begin with. She just made up that story to get everyone else at the office impressed and kind of be able to join in their locker room talk, because she doesn't have anything else to discuss anyway apart from that, and she doesn't really have the conversation to otherwise participate in their cliques. So suddenly her boss comes up to her and she just takes her aside and she goes, listen, I had the best idea for you and your husband. The boss's husband is this like marriage counselor. So she goes, why don't you bring your husband and you get like a free session of therapy or whatever, and you guys can work on sorting your issues out, kind of fix the marriage, because their workplace is like this marriage positive environment, and she doesn't want to see someone their marriage fail or whatever. And suddenly now Scotty's in this worse hole than she found herself in, because now she needs to show up the next day with a fake husband and pretend like they have some issues and stuff. So at the end she ends up contacting one of her best friends, who ends up supplying his brother to kind of come along with Scotty, except the brother is literally not anything she expected. Wilder is literally wild, because she thought she'll get like an alright man or whatever just for like a day or whatever. He's obsessed with improv, so this guy out of nowhere accidentally ends up signing them up in that marriage counseling session for the guy, the husband or whatever of the boss, the marriage counselor. He's like counseling camp. So suddenly now she has to be forced to attend this marriage counseling camp for 8 days. It's kind of like an adult summer camp or whatever, with this man she doesn't know, but she's pretending is her husband of many years, and faking a marriage with him, and they have issues apparently, and all this shit is going down, and like she's gonna be surrounded with her colleagues at that camp, so she has to be extremely careful because she doesn't want them spotting mistakes and stuff, like the wedding ring thing, the mishap that happened or whatever, and then calling out her lie, and then if she gets outed she could lose her job, and basically stakes are high, which is why now she has to go really just pretend along with the whole thing if she wants to keep her job. And in the midst of all of that, she just realizes that, listen, hey, she needs to be sharing a cabin with this fake husband of hers who she doesn't know shit about. So it goes from there, and I'm just gonna say one thing: Wilder, lip ring, king of words of affirmation. If that's your love language, pick this book up because it's actually perfect. I'm not even joking. Every other page, the way this man did it, whenever his mouth opened, I was so down bad. When I tell you, this book is a really good combination of hilarious summer romance, but there's also enough emotional depth. I'm telling you, it was so well done because the balance between the two of them, like I haven't been finding great romances recently, but the way I found this one, and I'm so happy I did because it was so good. I just need to take like a second to emphasize the fact that, listen, this is probably one of the best things I've read so far in my slump, and if you want something quick, if you want something with the depth to it, definitely pick this up because it definitely gives Reckless by Elsie Silver vibes, kind of, if anyone's interested or whatever, wherein we have like the female main character who's very much wrongly assumed or whatever, and then not really treated the way she should be, and she's just getting out of like a horrible marriage, and suddenly she finds this like golden retriever guy who's showing her that, listen, you deserve more than what you expect, and you will get it from this guy. And so if you want such vibes, honestly this book will hit because there were so many aspects wherein, not story wise, it's just in this vague way my brain kept going back to Reckless, and maybe that's a good sign for me to go back and reread the Chestnut Spring series, but that's literally how I'm feeling right now. So if you want something like that, this book is actually perfect. The jokes in this, I'm sorry, they were amazing. They got me every single damn time, and I was giggling the entire time, and then there were also the swoony bits and the good combination of the two, and then at the very end she ends up becoming friends with like the person who ended up spotting out the wedding ring thing at the beginning, and it comes full circle. It was really good. When you read it, you'll understand. And listen, I had a really good time because I loved the way this was handled. It was very emotional, it was very mature, it was very well done, and I had the best time. So I'm gonna say like 4 stars because I was so down bad for it, especially Wilder and his lip ring. Here we freaking are. That's where we're going with it. And now finally I'm gonna go back into kind of reading out, listening to my last book, which is an audiobook that I'm really hating, but I will push through and persevere for you guys and catch up with you all tomorrow because it's really late now. It's getting to 1 in the morning, and we'll see what happens when. But yeah, that's it for this update. Hopefully catching up tomorrow with hopefully getting done with the book that now I'm listening to, because I hate every second of it, but I have to finish it anyway. And so we're gonna go do that because my brain just does not understand the concept of DNFing. And while we're at it, I just want to ask if anyone would like to see a Code of Mist and Fury reread vlog, because in real time Sajay Mas, the author, today she literally just announced, I woke up to the announcement that, listen, she just finished the draft of ACOTAR 6. Listen, come argue with me in the comments. I don't really know if it says ACOTAR 6 with an arrow or with 8 or like a D or whatever. I'm trying to figure it out as with the rest of the internet. But as I do that, I think the time is ripe for this reread. So now I'm really inclined to just forget that audiobook that I'm really hating right now. Come back to it in a month's time. Until then, give this a reread. So if you all want it, let me know. We will see how that goes. But I will get back to the audiobook shortly. That's it. So if you all want to read it, let me know, because I genuinely don't want to be listening to that right now. I just want to reread this, and here we are. But I've wanted to do that anyway. Maybe I will soon, and whenever I do, I'll catch up with you all and maybe give you a vlog. But until then, I'm actually gonna go now because I'm just rambling and I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm really just tired and I'm just gonna go. Yeah, whatever. Bye. This makes no sense. Maybe I'll just go delete it and come back tomorrow and update. But yeah, that's it. Bye. I'm gonna keep this update short because there isn't like a lot to discuss right now. It's been 3 days since I've gone ahead and finished the last book for this video, and it's also been 3 days since I've been able to pick up a book to read. And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but I haven't done this in years. Every time I have some sort of video going, even if there's no video going, I'm always reading some kind of book. And ever since I finished this book, I've had zero urge to even look about, talk about these books, even just see them or whatever, because I am in the worst reading slump of my life. So I guess we can dissect that in a minute or two. But To quickly summarize, I have gone ahead and finished Summertime Punchline, probably the worst book of this video honestly, because I hate it every second. And so I'm going to give you a quick summary and the thoughts, and we can just end it, because the last thing I want to be doing right now is recording the outro for this video, but it does need to be posted, which is why I'm here, forcing myself to be here to kind of speak about this book, even though I don't want to look at it, because I picked it up for the cover. It let me down in the worst way possible. It's not that cute summer beach read that you were expecting. And so thoughts about this specifically. Basically, it follows this girl Dell. When she was younger, her teenage, I guess, foundational fundamental years were kind of upset because of these two relationships that were always going in the up and downs. So there was no dynamic of balance in them. They truly just messed her up, and she kind of associates her hate towards these relationships to her hate with her childhood. And now that is all coming in, I guess, full circle towards her hate with her hometown, because she feels like now her hometown has been ruined thanks to these two relationships with her deadbeat father, number one, and number two, her temperamental crush Eddie. And suddenly Dell cannot wait to just book it out of that town, because she hates every second of it. She just thinks she needs like a do-over and like a new start in life, because these two relationships really messed her up. And so when she's 18, she kind of just leaves there. There isn't like a concrete past timeline showing you all of this. It's just the author kind of telling you why she hates it. And so I can't really give you specific reasons. I'm still trying to figure them out myself. It's just she hates it, and you've been told she hates it, so you just have to accept that as gospel truth and move on. But now moving on to present timeline, which is where a majority of this book takes place. We're basically following adult Dell, and something happens. This one event takes place, and suddenly she loses her apartment, she loses her job, and she loses her boyfriend in the span of 24 hours. So as if she hasn't gone through enough trauma already, suddenly she's thrown back in the mix again. She needs to find somewhere to relocate to ASAP, because now her life has been upended in the worst way possible. And so she has no choice other than moving back into her hometown of Evergreen, because she has literally nowhere else to go. So now in the midst of all of this, she needs to go back there for a month and a half, literally just only that much, and she figures she's just going to move back out again, because she just cannot stand the thought of being back there. Except once she gets back there, she's being confronted again to deal with these relationships that she ran away from when she was younger, the one with her dad and the one with her crush. And suddenly, now that he's all grown up, she's falling back in love with him. She's trying to fix and repair her relationship with her dad. And as all of this is going on, she's wondering if everything she ran away from in her childhood is everything she could possibly want as an adult now, because suddenly it looks like she can fix things. It looks like she can move back into Evergreen. It looks like that's the finally happily ever after she's been looking for all her life, except it's not that easy. It's all adult and messy and complicated, and she needs to work through a lot. In the midst of all of this, I don't think I mentioned it, but she's also working as a comedian. In the time since she left her hometown, she actually managed the art of kind of turning her trauma into these comedic jokes or whatever that she sells for money. And in the midst of everything that's gone through in her present timeline of life, everything that's happened since she had to leave the city, she actually has this comedic set that's coming up that's going to be the peak of her career, that she's been working for little years, that she now will have at the end of summer when she finally moves out of Evergreen. Except when she moves into Evergreen, after all the dumps that have taken place in her life, she just doesn't have any inspiration anymore for that set. So she wants inspo from Evergreen as well, because now she could potentially break that set and break her career as well, because she has literally no jokes. So she's also kind of going back to her hometown to kind of draw more trauma and use that for jokes, I guess, in the sort of messed up way that it sounds, so she can actually capitalize off of it and actually make it through her set or whatever, because otherwise she has the worst crippling, I guess, writer's block or whatever, and she just sees no way out of it. So here we are. That's basically the premise of what's going on in the book. And so now that she's back in Evergreen, she's kind of trying to fix those relationships, but also come up with jokes that actually would make her set. And there's a lot going on basically. Me personally, for my really quick thoughts about this felt like a cardboard cutout of the book Beach Read by Emily Henry, because in that book we also have like a main character who's struggling with writer's block, and I feel like that's more better portrayed, it's better depicted than the way this was handled or whatever. That also has complicated relationships, and that also has a very similar romance. I feel like I could draw so many parallels between the two books. And so if you want something that feels like an unseasoned version of Beach Read, coming from someone whose favorite book of all time is Beach Read, you can pick this up if you just want to be crying tears of, I guess, misery the entire time you're reading it, because I was so bored. I hated every second. Every character is insufferable. They're so frustrating. And so if you want a cardboard cutout, basically, if you want a carbon copy, this is your book. I feel like also this book did a very poor job of showing you things. It was mostly just tell, and you're supposed to take that as gospel truth, and maybe that ruined the book for me. But also maybe the lack of actually showing you past timeline and establishing establishing an actual connection, an emotional one with the character did it, because I hated her. I didn't even have it in me to actually stand her, which is why I don't even see how would have kind of stood reading the book in the first place, which is why here we are. I feel like there was no connection made with her absolutely, and I feel like if we did like a better job of past and present timeline, maybe I would have liked this book better. But also there's a lot of maybes that needed to be fixed for me to actually write this book, so here we are. I also do believe that the ending of this book was very abrupt, because we have spent so much time with these characters and their perspectives. It's dragged on for literally the entire book, that I feel like we could have at least been given a half-assed decent ending, but clearly we didn't deserve that either, because it was just thrown at you. There were so many relationships that were literally just rushed at the end, sped up just so the book could be concluded in the worst way possible. So here we are, finished all of that. Don't really have any comment to say about her relationship with her father, but I have a lot to say about her and her romantic relationship now with Eddie, because they meet after 10 years. She's known him since high school, and then now there was a 10-year gap, and suddenly she's meeting him as an adult, and there's a lot that's gone on in his life. He's gone through a bunch of milestones that obviously would have changed him as a person, but they go back into it ever since seeing each other again after 10 years for the first day, falling back in love, kind of speeding things up regardless of whatever that's going on. Because if you look at it, if you're meeting someone again after 10 years, there's a lot that must have changed in both of your lives. You all must have changed as people, and you kind of need to go ahead and kind of relearn everything about each other. But these two jump into it, they know everything about each other since literally day one, the day they were born or whatever, and so it's kind of weird, the connection between the two of them. Again, it was not emotional in the very least. I feel like there was no chemistry, there was no banter, there was nothing, and you know, genuinely it gave me 0. So here we are. I hated every second of this book. I'm gonna give it 2 stars and move on, because I'm associating this with my reading slump now, and I just don't want to be speaking about it anymore, because this is truly the worst time of my life, because summertime is when I want to be reading the most, the best, and I can't do that anymore because I just don't have any urge to read, and that sucks, because that's supposed to be my #1 hobby. So now I'm gonna go figure out what I'm gonna do about the slump. If you've got some recommendations that you'd like to give me, your god tier best of all time books, please comment, because that's the only thing that will literally drag me out of this right now, and that's literally what I need right now. So that's it for this video. We've reached the end of the log. If you guys had a fun time coming along with me, complaining regardless of what's going on, like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube things, you know how to do them. And now that I have gone ahead and finished every single book I'm in the middle of, it's crazy, because now I'm not in the middle of any single book, and it's kind of sad, because while we did kind of achieve that goal, we achieved in the worst way possible, and suddenly I don't know what to do about it. So really need to fix the slump. Don't know how I will do that, but I'm literally just gonna go now, because what else am I supposed to do right now other than just think about the fact that ACOTAR 6 finally has its draft release. I know that thought came out of nowhere, but that's the only thing I want to talk about. So here we are. I'm gonna go spiral about that in my slump, and I'll see you all hopefully in next week's video with the slump hopefully cured, with like a reread of some book I really like, because otherwise I don't see any way out of it. We're at rock bottom now, and I don't see the light. So here we are. See y'all hopefully next week with the slump cured, and until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care and see y'all. Literally, that's it. Bye.